Have you ever struggled to talk to your friends or family about why you eat the way you do? Well, today we're going to talk about some strategies that'll make those conversations way easier for you. My name is Brian. I've been in the health and wellness industry for 20 years. I've been coaching pro-metabolic health and neurology for close to 10. Today, we're going to talk about how to talk about nutrition. When it comes to nutritional conversations you have with your family, as you get more and more into the pro-metabolic world, you'll start to have a lot of these raised eyebrows about what you're doing and why you're doing it and why you think what you're doing is healthy. On the one hand, you might drink milk. There's a huge stigma around milk right now, and for people that aren't familiar with the health benefits of milk, it could be one of those conversations that doesn't always get you the support and joy that you might expect to share your love of this healthy food. Same thing when it comes to sugar. There's a huge amount of people out there that still think sugar is dangerous, that sugar is bad, that sugar is the evil of all things disease and health related. So when you are sitting there eating sugar, you're eating some sort of sugar source, be it orange juice or ice cream, you're going to oftentimes get people in your immediate inner circle that don't always agree with it. And so when it comes to the people that you spend the most time with, the people that you care about the most, getting them to understand your viewpoints on things sometimes turns into an argument, sometimes turns into a conversation you don't want to have. I remember years ago, I laugh at this story to this day. Years ago, I was really into the paleo diet. And I was so into the paleo diet, I thought that was what I needed to solve all my problems. And I made a Christmas dinner for my whole family. They came over. And I went super paleo to the point of making my own dairy alternatives out of cashews. I made a cashew-based cheese, and it was basically just blended up, goopy cashew mix. I made a zucchini lasagna. And I mean, it was okay. The food was all right. But I forced it on my family. And that was the big problem. Because here I was thinking that I had this dietary superiority over everybody else, and I took away their ability to enjoy themselves because I was in the mood that I was. I was in the mindset that I was about health and nutrition and what it would take to be healthy. So I forced that on my family, and that wasn't as well received as I thought it would be. Because on the one hand, I think, well, I'm super healthy. My family's going to be appreciative that I'm making them healthy too. And oftentimes, if you've been in this situation yourself, you realize that's a very divisive kind of approach. I mean, you're just often met with a very divisive response. People are often, I don't want to have any part of that. Why are you doing this to me? I don't want that way of eating. Why are you forcing that on me? So when it comes to communicating these things to your family, because they're going to ask questions if they haven't already. And they may have asked questions in the past, and it may not even be about pro-metabolic stuff. It might be other things that you're doing food-wise or exercise-wise. But when it comes to explaining these things, there's a few things that you want to keep in mind. These are things I've learned in thousands of hours of coaching with clients. These are things that I have learned in studying communication, because being able to convey the point that we're trying to make, there's a certain level of tact that you need to take with that in order for it to not be completely brushed off or turn into an argument, which oftentimes it does. The nutrition world is very, very polarizing, and it can make people have a certain identity about it. And so when you're presenting your identity as the right way, somebody else's identity will have almost an affront to it. So they will feel defensive about their viewpoints. And when you have two counter viewpoints and they're both defensive, not a very productive conversation. So first off, when it comes to explaining what you're doing or why you're doing it, the first thing you want to look for is what's called change language. Okay? Change language is language that somebody's using that implies that they're actually looking to make a change, or that they're actually genuinely interested in what you're doing and why you're doing it. An example would be, I notice you're eating a lot more fruit. Why are you eating so much fruit these days? Okay, right there, there's an inquisition. There's an inquiry into whether or not what you're doing is healthy, or why you're doing it, or I've noticed something different. There's a level of open-mindedness to it. On the other end, to use a non-change language conversation, you would hear something like, "You're eating a lot of fruit. I don't want anything about fruit. Don't you know fruit's bad for you?" That right there will give you the clue that that person in that state of mind that they're in, they're not ready to receive new information. In fact, they're very automatically telling you that they're closed off to any new information. They're telling you from the onset they don't want to hear what you have to say about fruit. In fact, they're telling you what to think about fruit, and what you think about fruit should be what they think about fruit. So right there, you want to have your feelers out for change language. If somebody is not entertaining the idea of changing their mind, you're not going to get anywhere with them. And that's okay. That's normal. That's totally fine. It's totally common. You do it. I do it. We all do it. But if you're on the lookout for that, you'll save yourself a lot of frustration because you'll stop creating arguments where there aren't any. You'll stop creating animosity where there isn't none. The other thing you want to keep in mind when it comes to conversations about health, conversations about fitness, nutrition, supplementation, whatever it might be, the biggest thing you want to keep in mind is that everybody should have their autonomy respected. Okay, so what I mean by that, you and I might have differing views on health. You and I might have differing views on religion. You and I might have differing views on food, on exercise, on politics, on whatever. If we don't respect each other's autonomy, the ability to make our own decisions, the ability to make our own choices about our actions, and we force other people to follow our ideas, you've taken away a major part of somebody's identity. Because no longer can they decide for themselves. They might make decisions we don't agree with, whether it comes to food, whether it comes to exercise or whatever, but it's not our place to say. Every single time that there is a massive change in somebody's life, behavior change, habit change, or any sort of goal that somebody works towards and accomplishes, the most successful thing, and this is sussed out in research all across the board, the most successful changes come about when they are self-actualized, when they are drawn upon by themselves, when they have their own internal motivations that they say, you know what, I'm going to do this. So if we take that away from somebody and we say, you should do this, you should eat this way, you should stop eating that way, you're taking away their own autonomy. They're not making that change at that point for them. They're making it for you because you told them to. And if we're always telling people what to do and never giving them the chance to think for themselves and allow them to make the changes when they're ready, you're going to have a lot less success in bridging that gap in that conversation because people don't feel in control of their own life. Nobody wants to not feel in control of their own life. So if you take that away from somebody, you're immediately going to lose your audience. You're immediately going to lose your ability to convey the message you want to convey, even if you're right. Even if you know that the behavior they're going down the road of doing is bad for them. As soon as you tell them to, they're going to fight against it. It has to come from within. So let them. And last but not least, you want to lead by example. If you don't have the change language, if you don't have any of those conversational pieces yet where they even want to understand anything, they're simply telling you, don't eat fruit, don't drink milk, you're crazy, you're wrong, but you're going to do it anyway because you feel good because you're having all the success, the best thing you can do is lead by example. Now this means lead by example, do the thing you're going to do, and get the results you're going to get. Live the life you're going to live, have the success you're going to have, improve your health the way you're going to improve it. As they notice these changes in you, in your skin, in your hair, in your mood, in your behavior, that will be the impetus for them asking questions when they're ready, with their own autonomy, with their own change language. But if you lead by example and are falling apart, you're not going to be the selling point for the argument you're trying to have. You're not going to be the selling point for why you're right about this situation. So it's important to make sure that you're actually getting the results you want to get and adjusting accordingly. The other piece to this too is don't be insane, okay? It's very easy in our modern world to get really worked up about health, to get really worked up about all of these things to the point of obsession. So if it becomes a matter of, well, I'm healthy and I'm going to be an example for my family, but I'm going to be obsessive about everything to get there, you might have a very different value that you place on your health, on the food that you eat, on the exercises you do, on the supplements you take, compared to somebody else. And if people from the outside of this world, by that I mean outside of the health world, outside of your health world, see that level of obsession, it's very easy for them to be, I don't want that level of effort. I don't want that level of work. That's too much for me. So if you're obsessive about things to a fault, you're not going to bring people on board with you. You're not going to get people to come with you and say, you know what, this looks like something I want to take part in. So the biggest thing you can do instead of being obsessive and being insane is to realize that there will be times with family or family events where things aren't optimal. Things are not going to have the best food choices. You might go to restaurants you don't care to eat at on a normal basis because they're going to mess you up. Or you might have grocery stores that don't have organic or whatever it is that you normally get from home. You may not be in the most ideal of circumstances. The important thing to realize is we're building resilience through our health. We're building the capacity to handle these kind of strayed events, these events where we stray from our normal path of food and health, and you should be able to survive that. That's what we want to aim for. We want to aim for that level of resilience. And if we get to a point where we can't handle that level of resilience, we can't handle those little insults randomly that occur in our everyday life, that's not health. That's obsession. And so we want to make sure that if we're leading by example, we're not leading by an obsessive example, we're leading by an example of resilience. We're leading by an example of sustainability. We're leading by an example of happiness and joy and all the qualities that we want to exemplify in a healthy person. And if you're not healthy, if you don't have those qualities, you may want to get them. You may want to keep working until you have them so that when it does come time to lead by example, you're the example you want to represent. Hopefully that helps. If you have any questions on what these things might look like, how do I make sure I'm on the right track? How do I make sure that I'm getting where I want to go? I'm putting a link below for my free book where it covers how to assess everything you're doing in nutrition, everything you're doing in training, everything you're doing in supplementation to make sure that the neurometabolic response you're having to your diet, your lifestyle, your supplementation, all of that is moving in the right direction. So if you're interested in making sure that you stay the course, you stay in the right direction, don't fall off course, check out that free ebook down below. Until next time, be sure to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Stay sane, stay safe, and I will see you soon. Take care.